Well, hello everybody and welcome to episode 195. We're going to give Hayden the day off today. Happy birthday to Hayden and JD Fortune, and hello to my gorgeous friend Danielle.
Well, hello beautiful bee. I'm so happy to see your beautiful face today.
It's awesome, isn't it? And we're both having sunshine at the moment. It's 25 degrees in Coffs Harbour in Australia, and I believe it's about 1,000 degrees in Florida. Is that right?
Yes, it is. And in the words of INXS, I'm melting in the sun.
Yeah, I can see you drooping away there.
I'm melting in the sun. This is what they call the life.
We'll have to take photos of your room. You've done your room up and it's looking absolutely superb. I've never seen so much INXS memorabilia. You've got how many t-shirts hanging up there and posters? It looks absolutely fantastic. So which is your favourite poster you've got up there?
Oh gosh, probably my Kick one that I got with my fan pack back in 1988. I would love for anybody, if you have the Kick door poster, it seems to have gone missing in my collection. So if anybody has one, yes, if anybody has a spare door poster, I would love to get in touch with you to revive it into my collection. But yes, I figured I will be 50 next year, and I've been collecting since I was 13. And this is the first time I have actually displayed my collection. I don't have all my shirts up, but I've got shirts up, hats up. We'll send some pictures. And I have the coolest little letter signed from one Rhett Hutchins with a shirt of Michael Hutchins. That was an actual gift from the podcast for joining the team. So those are some little extra perks, people. If you would like to jump on the team, maybe you get some little surprise in the mail every now and then.
Oh, yes. And you've got some awesome gifts coming when you come to Australia next year. I can't wait. I'm getting a complete little bag of goodies for you. That brings me on. You've actually treated yourself to something really superb this week, haven't you? This is going straight into how is your INXS week?
Well, my INXS week was absolutely awesome. Actually got a new license plate, and it is going to be personalized with one INXS. So if you see me driving around in Florida and you see a license plate that says one INXS, honk at me really loud and I'll know it's you.
Oh, that's fantastic. Right. That's it. I want a new car first and then I'll get the number plate on there. That's brilliant. That's fantastic. As we said, it's Hayden's birthday on Sunday, as this episode is going out. Gorgeous JD, and we wish you both an absolute fantastic birthday. And we also wanted to celebrate that we've just had 14,000. We've hit 14,000 followers on Facebook alone. I don't know what that is. It's just crazy. So thank you, everybody. But keep spreading the word. We want to get out there. We want to get INXS into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And this is the place that tells you everything there is and all this knowledge to do with INXS. What else have we been up to this week, or last week, I should say?
In our INXS world, it's almost every day. So we've had lots of posts go out, lots of fan engagement. So get ready to hear some names be called out. I think you actually had a little trip down south for you, didn't you?
Yes, a little trip, 6 hours a trip and then 6 hours back for me, but it's so worth it to see Don't Change, the ultimate INXS tribute band. They are just unbelievable. There was a little change in their musicians, but they just are absolutely solid every time. And that was down at Avalon RSL. Hello to Claire as well. She's superb, who runs it down there. Met up with my gorgeous friends, Sarah and Karen. Karen's a mega INXS fan and obviously Don't Change, loves Blair. We went to Whale Beach. We found Whale Beach and we found the house that INXS first became one and were the Ferris brothers and played at Tim's birthday party. It was really the most perfect weekend. I really enjoyed it. We had a great place to stay. And someone mentioned on the socials, when can we do more of these meetups? And I think I might start doing that. I might start putting them out as events, and then others can come along, because I just love meeting up and speaking to everybody and having a great time hearing your stories when I'm out and about. So listen out. I have my next one at Grafton, actually, which isn't too far away from here. So if you're in New South Wales and in Grafton, I'm going to see the Australian INXS show. So I'd love to see you all there. But there was something else. I went shopping on the internet, on Facebook Marketplace, which I do quite regularly. And I found a couple of boxes, which were old equipment boxes that were like, you know, what the roadies used to put the equipment in. One was blazingly John Farris's with his name on, and D36, which I reckon was drums 36 pieces maybe. And then the other one said it was Michael Hutchins's. Now, my husband would have killed me if I'd brought those and brought them home, and I just haven't got the space. So I got in touch with Paul Jolie and I said, Paul, I think you really need to have the drum box. He's got the drum box, but he got on the phone to the guy and he says, I kid you not, B, Michael Hutchins' box was full of INXS goodies. Now, I'm not going to say what they were. I'm not going to say anything more than that. We've told management, and hopefully they can get on if that was anything to do with Michael. I know there was some awards in there. If you purchased those, yeah, maybe they should go to the rightful owners, but we'll leave it there. But that was like the INXS squad team. I'll tell you now, behind the scenes, finding out where all this stuff was going.
Well, as I told Mr. Jolie, that was the most appropriate purchase I have ever seen. From one drummer to another. So I'm very happy that Mr. Paul Jolie got the John Ferris box, and I did happen to see the Michael Hutchins writing on there, so I was very curious. But now my interest has piqued even more, and yes, please get in touch with us, or please return to the rightful owners, or we can assist in all three of those.
Yes, we definitely can. We definitely can. Okay, Danielle, what you got in fan engagement this week?
Well, we have several people that have responded to some posts that we have, but I just want to touch back on what you said earlier in INXS Week about a meetup, possibly. Linda Memphis, I don't know where you're from, but you asked, does this group ever do meetups or events? Because I would love to meet some fellow INXS fans in my area. So I don't know where you are, Linda, but B has just put out that, you know, she would love to do some meetups. And, you know, for people in the States, let's jump on this too. Just, we can't let Australia have all the fun now. We got some massive INXS fans here too.
Yeah. Well, did you see what happened in Argentina? In Mexico.
Yes, that was so fun. Oh my gosh. Yes, they love INXS down there. And I mean, it really looked like it was a great turnout. I was really excited for that.
Yeah. So let me just tell everybody about that might not have known. So I've got a friend called Jaden. He sent it to me, but INXS, the official, actually had got some footage as well. So down in Mexico, what they'd done is they'd put an event together, and I think I actually might have mentioned it last week or the week before actually. And they put a screen outside and they played Live Baby Live. They actually had an intro from John Farris, which I haven't got any footage of, so I'd love to hear that. And they actually given away INXS t-shirts to the crowd, and it looked like it was raining, but like everyone had massive smiles on their face. Which then I said, I'd like to do that for our bus tour when you come over. We would love to maybe get a bit of an outdoor event and have Live Baby Live at the end of the evening. And even Blair come back from Don't Change and said, count us in there as well. So we might have a tribute band in there too. So this is really hotting up, guys. Really. So this is going to be big fan engagement. So watch out. I'll be putting the events up very soon.
Oh, I'm so excited. I would love to see some Don't Change while I'm down in Australia, just to see at least a tribute band of INXS while I'm in Australia. Come on now.
Yeah. But we need to get Paul on drums though, don't we, Mr. Jones?
Yes. Well, back on fan engagement, we can always get off topic with me and B. But anyway, I found a picture of some very young men. I don't know if they're in the back of a bus or maybe it looks like a van, but Got Andrew, it looks like he's in a captain's chair. So he flies planes and he drives buses now, I guess. But
multi-talented there, isn't he? Eh?
He is. He can play the piano, play the guitar, he can fly a plane, he can drive a bus, he's multifaceted. But I'd asked some of our fans out there, did you get to see INXS as they were crisscrossing Australia, as they're crisscrossing the United States in 1982, 1983? Did you get to see them before they made it big? And we did. And here are two of our top fan engagement answers, I guess. Rosanda, the most memorable was on 4th of December, 1982, a free gig at Luna Park in Sydney, hosted by local radio station 2SM. In the closing moments of Don't Change, Michael climbed onto one of the side speakers with the sun's rays behind him. Barefoot, wearing khaki shorts and a white singlet, a rock god was born, and we agree.
Absolutely. And I think she's got some photos, so she says she's going to try and post those, so look out for those, everybody.
Can't wait. And then I have Aaliyah, I believe it's Wang, she saw them in Pine Knob, Michigan, and they opened for Men at Work. I saw them on their tour bus behind the venue. I dragged my BFF to see them and left after they ended, made a run for it onto the bus, and touched Michael's hand as I was pulled off by security.
I think I actually mentioned that to her. I said, did you watch it? And she said if it had been John, she would have done off. Oh, well, excellent.
Well, at least there's another girl out there that was pulled off of some sort of vehicle by security as well. Because I did it back in 91. Speaking of INXS weeks and things that we did, we actually have another person that said the one thing was his introduction to INXS, song and video, and he's been listening to them ever since. And let me tell you, he's got a personalized INXS license plate. So I guess if you see one riding around South Carolina here in the States, get him and let him know you're an INXS fan.
Excellent.
Also on that post with the one thing in the video, we had Tim Reed said that his arm made it into the video on the shoot from the mini series, not the original video, but the mini series. So we'd love to see a picture of that too, Tim.
Fantastic. Well, I put a post out earlier today because of the Gallagher boys are coming back. Wow. And have you got a lot to say about this? I posted, I made a post as a message to Noel and Liam, don't lose your head. And that has just gone berserk. So if you want to go back and read those comments, I'll just leave them there. They're absolute gold ones.
This will always be better than Oasis.
Yes, they definitely were. They definitely are even still.
Yes.
I found a great photo in my new book that I picked up. I actually got a great book from Germany. It's all in German. I might ask my brother to help me with that because he knows German. I put a great picture out of the boys. Oh, so young. They look at around about 1982, something like that. I was hoping that someone would mention that Tim was trying to describe a big fish, and that was good. So I asked for a caption this. Tess Taylor Turcat, she wrote, Tim is saying the fish was this big. And Johnny's thinking, Timmy with his fish stories. And Michael is saying, I just need another Chardonnay, please. And then the other guys are so unimpressed with Timmy's fish story. Tess, get in touch, email us, and I'll get you a little present out, a little gift for that lovely comment. You nailed it. Great.
Love it. Love it. I do have another one from the small venues. Katja from Belgium. I was on the second row and I touched Michael's leg. And then someone named Cherie came back and told Katja I touched his arm, this very same venue. So it seems like we have two fans that were the same venue that got to touch Michael Hutchence, and they're following us on the podcast page. So we love. This is kind of why we do all this and have our fan engagement, is so we can hear stories Things
wonderful.
like this. Yeah, things like this. We just, as fans, when you're younger and you don't think there's anybody else out there that, loves INXS and you're the only one. And then you come out and you find out you have people that went to the same show and got to touch Michael. I mean, that's, love it. Love to hear it. Thank you, ladies.
I met somebody recently on the official INXS Facebook page on their thread. And we went to the same concert. There was two of us, three of us, sorry. So, I hope they're listening to the podcast and get in touch, guys.
Oh my goodness, I don't think I've ever done the news before, so this is a bit different for me. I don't think I'll be doing the gig guide, so if you are an INXS fan, and you, of course you are because you're listening to the program, but go out there, stick INXS into your local search engine and you'll find your local INXS bands. Get out there, go see them, support them. Okay, I want to tell you about another podcast. Clazy and Lisa are a podcast out of Perth, and they do something called the Pub Crawl, and they did a great interview with Tim and a load of other musos from Australia, but a great interview with Tim, and I really do recommend it. So stick that into your search engine. And Tim, they mentioned to him what would be happening for the anniversary of the 50 years, which is coming up, isn't it? Because we're 47 this year. So Tim did let it out the bag that big celebrations were coming our way. So can't wait to hear more about that. Let's all keep our ears to the ground on that one. But I have to go into this. Yes, Media Wars with Kirk and Andrew, battling it out onto our socials. So cool to see Lane and Kirk dressed up to the nines, looking absolutely superb in his suit, so dapper, for a charity, a cancer charity for women with breast cancer. Thank you guys for everything you do there, and what a fantastic picture that we had to put out onto the socials of the guys. And if you want to support that charity, go onto Lane's page and you can follow the links there. And Andrew, this week, wow, he's told a little story about his hats, and there's so much love for him and his hats. He tells you quite a few little stories. I think he has about 6 on the table, and if you haven't seen them, go check that out. It's absolutely adorable.
Hey, this is Tim Farris. Big shout out to Hayden and B. Also want to say hello to all the listeners and INXS fans. Thanks for listening. I love you, Hayden and B. You're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Thanks, Tim. And now it's time for Topic of the Week. Well, I have the absolute pleasure to bring you my gorgeous friend, Chrissy Vincent, all the way from Melbourne today. Hi, how are you?
How are you, Bridge? Good to see you.
It's good to see you as well. You have not aged one bit. We've been apart for quite a few years.
I still keep up on Facebook and, see what you're doing.
Yes, well, Chrissy's just been through a photo album and found a few photos. I don't think I'm going to show you the one that she found of me with me flashing my boobies, but that was probably about what we used to get up to. We were pretty good party animals back in the day, weren't we?
That was at the Meredith Music Festival, and we were having a lot of fun.
We were. Trying to think who was headlining now.
I can't remember.
Dun, 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 dun. Wolfmother.
Wolfmother, did they? No.
Wolfmother was headlining, and I think they just got to number 1, and we went ballistic and we ran to the front. I mean, we might have been helped by a few extra little things at the time, but yeah, it was great fun. So anyway, so it wasn't just me you used to party with back in the 1980s. Let's go back to then, because we've been friends for a while, and I know a few of these stories, but I don't know all of these stories. But you were quite good friends with Gary Beers for a while, and that was through your boyfriend. And your boyfriend was a rock star. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about a rock star, pop star. I went out with the bass player from the band called the Machinations back in the 80s. They had a few hits, and one of their biggest hit was probably a song called No Say in It. They had a song called Precious Way, and they were awesome. And I was working at a booking agency called Harbour Agency in Sydney, met Nero coming in to pick up his worksheets and stuff from the booking agency. I think that's how I met him. Anyway, and he was really good friends with Gary beers. Being bass players, they obviously got together and talked about bass playing. Yeah, so kind of we hung out a fair bit back in the day.
So were they on the same label at the time, do you think? Is that No.
Machinations were on Mushroom and INXS were on WEA, Warner.
That's right, yeah.
But it was just kind of a thing back then where Sydney bands, well, like, you know, all the bands in Sydney all knew each other, or a lot of them knew each other. They all hung out. We used to play softball down in a park in Rushco's Bay. And because Gary at the time was kind of in the biggest band and making the most money, we nominated him to buy all of the equipment. So Gary bought all of the softball equipment, the bases, the baseball bats and everything. And do you know, I actually still have my glove and my cleats from when I used
Oh, fantastic.
so
that must have been great memories. Was he any good?
Fun. I was good.
Oh, were you? How about Gary? Was he good?
Oh, yeah, he was good.
He was good, yeah.
And it was just, there was, you know, guys from the Models and guys from different bands in Sydney at the time. Chris Morrow from the Numbers, he would play, him and his girlfriend would play, do you know, and I'm still good friends with them. Who else? Tim Lumsden. There were just a lot of artists and musicians that would all play softball on a Sunday afternoon. It was,
that sounds amazing. That's so fun. And that was back in the 80s, hey?
Yeah. Yeah,
we used to get together, and then would that roll onto a party somewhere afterwards?
Oh, yes, it would.
Yes,
most definitely roll onto parties.
And who else would you meet at these parties? Did you say that you met Michael's girlfriend at the time?
Yeah, I remember going to one party in the North Shore. It was at Michelle's place, and Michael was there, and that, like, all the guys were there. But I remember Michelle just being just so down to earth and loving and open. And because it was a real scene back then, and I felt like I was the, you know, the younger one in the scene. Probably wasn't that much younger, but
I think you were about 2 years younger because they were probably round about born 1960.
Okay, yeah, I'm 64, so
you're not 64, but
no, I was born in 1964. I felt like I was the younger, and I remember her really being caring and taking, you know, and not being that kind of bitchy girlfriend.
Yeah, which you sort of expect when someone's so high up, like, keep away from my boyfriend, but no, the opposite. Oh, that's so lovely to hear. It's nice to hear something about Michelle. And did you see Michelle with Michael at all?
Oh, yeah.
And how was he at the parties? Was he loving and caring? And
he was always having fun.
Yeah, I bet. Where's the fun? Michael's in the middle of it.
He was always having fun. And like I think I said to you, I remember seeing him and Kylie at a club in Melbourne, and I knew Kylie, and they were both having a great time.
To be young and to be that high up in the game, and, like, you know, money no object and all of that. Yeah, why not?
He really did, you know, not try and make a big deal of it. I remember another girlfriend of mine was, like, obsessed with Michael, and we saw him once at Paddington Market. This was before stalking was a thing. She was following him around Paddington Market and trying to take photos of him. And so I've got these photos somewhere of you know, looking over across stalls at Paddington Market in Sydney.
Oh, well, we would love to see those, Chrissy. You know we would.
I remember he had a white shirt on and white jeans on.
And stood out a bit.
So he stuck out, but was doing his thing and, you know, shopping. And I'm sure and he was with a girlfriend, and it may have been Michelle. I think it was Michelle, because they were together for a while.
They were, a long time. And you've got other photos as well when you went to see them in concert, because you were a massive INXS fan, weren't you?
I was. I just loved them from that very, very beginning, that first album, INXS. I remember one particular night, and I think that's the photos that I took. They were opening for Kevin Borich at Enfield Hotel. We used to just go to gigs all the time, and I was right up the front, because you can see that I'm really close and taking photos right in front of the band.
Fantastic.
I wasn't a photographer at all. I was a bit obsessed with Michael, and he was such fun.
were on another podcast recently, weren't you, about a gig? Tell us about that story.
Oh, there was talk on Double J. I'm a bit of a Double J fan. There was talk on Double J, or there was something on a Facebook page about this concert at Cronulla Beach with Midnight Oil and INXS, and also the Machinations played, and My Sex played, and a few other bands. And so me and a couple of girlfriends, there was about 3 or 4 of us, drove down to Cronulla and went to the gig. And I commented on somebody's post going, oh God, I remember that. I was there. And I remembered it so clearly, and getting this car park right at the very front, and it looked down onto the beach where the stage was. I had this little blue tiny Honda Light. It was a tiny little car. We all sat in this car, and it rained for a bit. So I remember hiding in the car when it rained. And then I remember a lot of drunk guys jumping on my car bonnet. But I remember going, right, we're going to leave the car and we're going to go down into the crush and see INXS, which was, I just loved going to see them all the time.
Yeah, fantastic to actually be there. But that wasn't your favourite, was it? You actually got backstage at Australian May concert.
Oh, yeah. Well, because, again, Machinations were playing on that gig, and also a couple of other friends in the Models and stuff like that. And so, when they came to Sydney, and that show I remember was at Cronulla, down at Cronulla at football grounds down there. I remember going and hanging out backstage, and you just because if your boyfriend's in the band, you just go and have drinks and hang out, and
So with Australian Made, that actually got toured around Australia. So did you go with him to any of the others? No, you just did the Sydney one. Yeah. Weren't allowed. Girlfriends not allowed on the plane.
Girlfriends were not allowed. No. Well, I wasn't anyway. Girlfriend of mine was doing the backing vocals for the Models at the time, and I remember her just regaling all of the stories. Yeah, she's got a few stories on what happened.
Fantastic. But you stayed friends with Gary for quite a while, didn't you?
I'd see him when I moved to Los Angeles in 92 to work at Virgin Records. And so when they would come into town, I'd go to their show, give him a buzz and go, hey, can I come to the show?
On the list.
and have a big catch up. And then when I was back in Sydney working at MTV from 97, I saw him, a few times.
And what was the favourite story? This is a good story, everybody. There's a story about a tambourine.
Well, my boyfriend, Nero, the bass player, I probably shouldn't be saying this, but anyway,
dish it.
He didn't support me in my singing career. I was doing backing vocals. I was singing in this cover band called the Rolling Clones. And in the Rolling Clones, we did Rolling Stone songs, of course. And in the Rolling Clones was Mark Evans, who's the original bass player in AC/DC, Mick Cox, who was the guitarist in Rose Tattoo, a guy called Graham Kennedy, who had put the band together. And so I was in this band with these quite well-known musicians, AC/DC and Rose Tattoo. And we were doing Rolling Stone songs. And we were playing at the Manly Hotel down on the promenade. And Gary lived just up the road from there. And so Nero came to the gig, and before we'd even gone on stage, he'd disappeared, right? And I kind of liked him to come to support my anyway, he took off and went off and, had some fun with Gary while I was singing. And then Gary and Nero walked into the Manly Hotel on the second last song of the second set. So he missed pretty much the whole thing. And during the break, the band would say to me, oh, yeah, where's your boyfriend, Chrissy? And all that.
Left me.
Yeah, I don't know. He's supportive, not. Anyway, Gary and Nero walk in, and I was pretty cranky by this stage because the band had also, my band had been giving me shit about it. And so I just kind of went like this.
You pulled him over.
I called him over. I don't know what stones.
And this is in front of everybody, the whole crowd.
In front of the whole crowd. I could not control my anger. And I just reached down and whacked him across the head with my tambourine. It actually broke the silver thing on.
Wow. So he felt it.
He felt it. And yeah, so that was, I kind of jumped off the stage and, don't you ever do that? No, I was yelling at him.
So it was a big scene. And Gary likes to mention that to you when he bumps into you now and again. Yeah, he loves that story.
Yeah.
He was thinking, God, I'm going to get whacked next.
Oh, it was so funny. He brought it up another time at this club called Benny's that we all used to go to late at night. So it was a late night place in King's Cross. All the artists, all the bands would go to this place called Benny's. I remember Gary bringing it up then. He brought it up in Los Angeles, at the Santa Monica Airport hangar where they did a gig, and he said, I remember that time you hit Nero over the head with the tambourine. And I'm like, I think it was only rock and roll. It's only a rock and roll, but I like it. And I whacked him over the head.
Fantastic. I love it. What a career you've had, though, by the signs of it. You're working with the booking agency on Virgin Records, was that? What did you do at Virgin?
Oh, at Virgin, I worked in a department called Special Projects.
Ooh.
And Special Projects was looking after the 5 top acts on the label. So at the time at Virgin, it was the Rolling Stones, David Bowie, Lenny Kravitz, the Sex Pistols, and the Smashing Pumpkins.
Wow. And so you got to meet all of these artists?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Wow, Chrissy, what a gig. What a job. When did you get me one?
I know, right? Well, I've got this, I don't know if you can see, a signed Lenny Kravitz poster down on the ground there that I haven't had a chance to put up.
Fantastic.
He was awesome to work with.
Yeah. Have you listened to his latest record?
Not the whole album, but I've heard bits and pieces of it.
Yeah, listen to it and you can hear Suicide Blonde.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you really can. You can. What was your favourite INXS album?
I would definitely say Shaboo Shabar.
And you named your cats after?
2 cats. We had this cat that like kittens in our garage, and so I kept 2 of them, and one was Shaboo and one was Shabar.
That's the way it goes.
They lived till they were 18 years old.
Oh.
Yeah, so I was this, young girl being a fan of a band and called my cats after the album. And then, 18 years later, they were still around. But, yeah, I loved that album. And the first album was pretty good,
Yeah, yeah. It's funny, the one thing has the cats in it on the table, don't they? I was listening to a podcast with Tim not so long ago, and he says they give the cats Valium that day to keep them calm on the table when they were all eating and drinking and singing.
That is cool. That's so funny.
That's funny. And then people are like, "Were the cats okay?" You're like, "Yeah, the cats are pretty cool. They're okay." And you've been to a couple of award ceremonies as well. You were at the Countdown Awards, is that right? Which were then turned into the ARIAs.
Yes. Yeah. So back then, especially, look, I was working at a record company from 1981, which was Festival, but it was more because of going out with Nero that I would be going into like Countdown Awards, and then they were the ARIA Awards. But, it was during that time where the boys from INXS were always around. They were, winning awards, and it was definitely a scene in Sydney back then.
It's funny, isn't it? I was speaking to a friend of ours, Chris Gregan, earlier today. He likes INXS, but he finds them a bit poppy. And I think there is a bit of a snobbery in Melbourne, some of the Melbourne bands to the Sydney bands. Would that have been right?
Oh, there was. Yeah, there was. There used to be very much so in the 80s, definitely. It was like the Melbourne bands were just a little bit more grungier and a little bit more dark. And the Sydney bands had that kind of pop sensibility and brightness, and when you think about, if I could show you the weather out here at the moment, cold and grey and windy, I think it really reflects the differences in the music.
Yeah, when you think of Nick Cave, you know, the Lord of Darkness.
Yes. I love Nick Cave.
Yeah, Nick Cave. I mean, Michael loved Nick Cave. They were friends, weren't they? I mean, they actually adored each other for their opposites. He wanted to have the limelight as much as what Michael had, and Michael wanted the grunginess and the darkness. And
he sang at Michael's funeral, which was so beautiful.
Did.
That was just, oh yeah.
Into my arms.
Where were you when you found out about Michael?
I was working at MTV and was so shocked, and remember kind of having to quickly get our producer and our somebody to a reporter to go down to the hotel in Double Bay and, you know, sit out the front and do reports back and stuff. But it was quite shocking. I couldn't quite believe it, you know, and like, how does that happen, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I'm trying to remember when the photo that I have of, I've got this photo of me and Gary at the Tivoli in, or it's the Metro in Sydney now. And it was when I was at MTV, and it might have been before this, because it might have just been a couple of months before. I'm going to have a look at it and see if I can get a date on it.
Yeah.
Because I know that they were all in town.
Yeah.
So yeah, after we spoke before, Bridget, I thought, when would the guys from INXS been at an event at MTV after that? So it was a function of some sort. The photo is one of those professional photos.
Yeah.
And a photographer was going around snapping photos. But Gary had a broken arm, so he wouldn't have been playing. Yeah, I remember he's got his arm in a plaster. So
gosh, I wonder what he did to do that.
I don't know. I don't know. It's all
we'll have to ask him. Where did this broken arm come from, Gary?
I'll find photos.
I'm sure he's listening.
Gary, remember the time?
Yeah, they usually have dates on the back of photos, don't they, back then when they were processed? So you might be able to find one.
This was one of these. This was a black and white photo, and they were it was like half an A4, and it was a photographer that we had, and I think it was an MTV photographer, because we would always have photographers there taking photos, happy snaps. It was one of those photos.
Yeah. So what do you do? Well, what happened to Nero first? When did you give him the flick?
I moved to Melbourne in 1988. Moved to Melbourne, worked at MT. I was working at Triple M, and starting to kind of find my feet in Melbourne and loving it and stuff. And yeah, just realised that it was not going anywhere. I was in Melbourne, then went to LA, and then went to Sydney, back to Sydney, and then back to Melbourne. So I didn't get back to Melbourne until 99.
Wow, what a life, Chrissy. What's been your best moment apart from meeting Lenny Kravitz?
I would say the highlight of my career, and this isn't about me, but the highlight of my career is I worked for Susie Sue from Susie and the Banshees, did her publicity in 2000, so 24 years ago. And her and I got on like an absolute house on fire. We had some massive nights together. I went up to Sydney with her for the shows. And she did a show in Melbourne, a show in Sydney. And then after the show in Sydney, I said to her, "Oh, Susie, I forgot to ask you to sing Christine, the Strawberry Girl." You know, I loved that song. And she said, "Oh, you told me, Chrissy," you know, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. 2 days later, she was going up to Brisbane to do a show in Brisbane. And 2 nights later, I was woken up by my phone, and this was 2000. So back then you had a little Nokia phone, you know, that didn't record or didn't even take photos. And my phone rang, and I was asleep in bed on my own, you know, no one to share it with. And she said, "Chris, it's Susie. I promised I'd sing you this song, so please don't hang up."
Oh, no.
She handed the phone to the tour manager, and it then started Christine, the Strawberry Girl, and sang that down the phone to me on stage in Brisbane. And then she said, don't hang up, we've got a few more songs for you. And then I went, as in the phone, went into the dressing room, waiting for the encore, and they're talking, oh, we'll do Hong Kong Garden and we'll do this. And then she's talking about all these songs that she didn't do in Sydney and Brisbane, in Melbourne. So I was really excited that at least I got to hear them.
Yeah.
And then, taken back on the phone. This was a good, 15, 20-minute phone call. Back then they were expensive. I was crying. I was sitting in my bed.
That's so personal.
Crying because
Yeah.
I had done that. And the next morning I had a call from the music journalist at the Courier Mail, who I'd put his name on the door, and he said to me, "Oh, Chrissy, thank you so much for that last night. It was awesome, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Oh, you guys got a couple of songs we didn't get in Sydney and Melbourne." And he said, "Was that you on the phone?" And I said, "Yes." and he said, "Yeah, she stopped the show."
Oh, get your shivers. Oh, yeah.
Asked the tour manager, the Australian tour manager, for his phone.
Yeah.
And said, "There's somebody that I need to call." So that was pretty special.
That's very special. That's a really good story. Thank you for sharing that, Chrissy. That's brilliant.
I just don't have any photos or evidence to prove.
No. I think we can all envision that. That's awesome. And and if no one can see this, but Chrissy is Christine with the strawberry hair, aren't you, darling? You've got she's such a shine, she's such a light. If you could see her, I'm eager to take a photo of you. You look so beautiful today.
You can.
Strawberry girl.
Still working, and you're now working with one of our friends from the show, Bruce Butler, in Melbourne. Yeah, what is it? You describe what the role is, because I never get it right.
So about 9 years ago, nearly 10 years ago, I was contacted by the Dean of the Australian College of the Arts, who wanted to talk to me about running the bachelor degree in entertainment management. So I kind of thought about it, decided that who better to teach the next generation of music industry professionals than somebody that made their whole career working in the music industry, And I'd done a master's. I did a master's in international music business. So I decided that I would take the job. I rewrote the degree. So it's a Bachelor of Applied Business in Entertainment Management. So really focusing on music business. I started off by just employing people that I knew from the industry, because I wanted to make sure that everybody that worked there had come from working within the industry. And one of those people was Bruce Butler, because Bruce worked at Virgin. We didn't work at Virgin at the same time, but because I worked at Virgin Records in America, we had that connection. And then I'd also met him through when I was at Triple M and he was at record labels, because I always met with the record labels. So of course I was going to have Bruce in,
He also worked for Countdown.
Countdown.
Yeah. And those that don't know who Bruce is, Bruce has been on the show. He was managing Ollie Olsen for a while and helping him with his charity there as well. But yeah, Bruce is such a really kind man as well. So hi to Bruce. But there's also Jane Gazzo as well. Who's a very good big friend of yours.
Yeah. Jane I met when she was at Recovery, because a girlfriend of mine, another girlfriend called Jane, was worked at Recovery. So kind of met in that circle. And then I got Jane to teach at Collarts as well. So Jane was teaching at Collarts for about 3 or 4 years, and Bruce has been there for about 7 now.
Wow.
Like I said, I like to get people that have worked in the industry that haven't just learnt it from a book, that they actually know what they're talking about and can share those stories and experiences. Things definitely have changed since I started in the business. It's a completely different one now, but I think it's still worth knowing how it was.
Yeah. So anyone who is inspired by Chrissy and wants to do a diploma on a business course in entertainment, you know where to come. Just email us and we can pass those details on. Or even if you are a muso and you fancy getting in touch with Chrissy, let us know and we can pass your details on too. It's been an absolute pleasure, Chrissy. It really has. You're always such a smiley, lovely lady to talk to. And I hear you're doing some renos at the moment. So I really appreciate you coming on at the last minute there and talking to me.
Welcome. I hope I shared some stories, but not too juicy.
Not too juicy. We can keep the juicy ones for when we meet up.
Yes, most definitely. And you've got those photos. I'll find the photo of me and of Gary at MTV.
Fantastic. All right. And we'll put it out on our platforms. Thank you. And have
Wow, B, your friend has got an amazing career. I mean, just wow. Wow.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it? Like, I know,
Yes.
she's quite quiet about what she did, but like listening to her, I could listen to her forever. And after we stopped recording, she said, "Oh, I forgot to tell you about this, that, and the other." So yeah, I'll come back with some more stories of what Chrissy has said. But yeah, I mean, the Paddington Market and stalking Michael, I mean, that's quite funny. I mean, I think most of us in our teenage years would have loved to have done that. So I'm looking forward to those photos reappearing.
Me too. And yes, I would have been a stalker. Anybody that knows me would.
Yeah. And that lovely story about meeting Michelle. We don't hear many first-hand stories about Michelle, and the fact that she said that Michelle was quite motherly and caring and looked after her and wasn't that bitchy sort of, I'm going out with the lead singer. They all sounded such a lovely bunch of people, didn't they?
Yeah, very down to earth, and maybe that's what drew Michael to Michelle was.
Yeah,
that she was down to earth. She was motherly. Because we all know that he always called her and still spoke with her, and that gets to say something about a person's content of character. When you've been with somebody and then all of a sudden you're not, but you can still remain friends. Gosh, I'd love if Michelle would come on the show one day. But
love it. Yeah. Please, Michelle, come on. But I just want to say, like, an English girl living in Australia, I feel so blessed because Aussies are such cool people to know. They are really embracing and they're just such lovely people. Not saying that English are, but sometimes it can be a bit of a snobbery attitude around, I like this band, therefore I'm not going to like another band or anything. Everyone just really embraces the whole culture of music over here. So great, Chrissy, to have someone like you that's actually out there like training people to become better people in the music industry and using the resources that we've got here.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming on the show, Chrissy.
The complete wrap of today, a girls only episode. I hope you've enjoyed that. Come back, Hayden, next week, and I'm sure the girls would love to hear from you again.
Well, in the words of Hayden, it's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from B.